The World Boxing Super Series, the Super 8 tournament, kicks off this weekend in the Cruiserweight division with Marco Huck versus Oleksandr Usyk. Marco Huck, a bit of a stalwart of the Cruiserweight division. He's been either the main man or towards the top of the division for many, many years. Oleksandr Usyk, if you like, the new kid on the block, but the guy who I would suggest, if you polled a large population, would be classed as the consensus #1 in the Cruiserweight division. A fantastic amateur pedigree, Olympic gold medals, turning over pro, undefeated, and he's so far taken care of a good level of opposition for what is a fairly young start to his career. And this is exactly what Oleksandr Usyk needed. You know, Usyk is a guy, I'm sure he's earned well, I'm sure he's earned better than I have, but he is a guy who probably hasn't earned superstar money in his career to date, and he is a guy whose profile is probably not as high as it maybe could be, certainly amongst the average boxing fan, maybe not the most hardcore boxing fans who will be very aware of him. But this tournament represents a very good opportunity and a very good platform for Usyk. He's already the consensus #1, but this tournament allows him to effectively clean out the division, to have his name promoted globally on a variety of TV platforms, and an opportunity to win and earn huge money by winning it. Should he be victorious, and I understand he's certainly the favourite to do so, he will have a prime position to make an assault on the heavyweight division, having, you know, really laid his mark and put his stamp on that cruiserweight division. So, you know, this is a great opportunity for Oleksandr Usyk. He cannot afford any mistakes or any slip-ups. This is a brilliantly timed opportunity for him. For Marco Huck, this is probably last chance saloon. We actually saw Marco Huck lose by stoppage to Krzysztof Glowacki, who then went on to fight and lose to Oleksandr Usyk. We saw Marco Huck more recently fight Maris Bradis in a fight where not only did Bradis win in kind of dominant fashion, but he also kind of made Marco Huck look like he was a bit of a shot fighter. You know, you weren't looking at Marco Huck thinking, wow, he's got a hell of a lot left to give here. He looked like a guy who was potentially slightly running out of ideas and potentially was in the autumn of his career, in my humble opinion. So Huck gets into the Super Series. I guess he gets into that because of his name value, having been on the scene for so long. I guess he gets into it due to his long-standing relationship with the Sauerland brothers, who are associated with the tournament. I don't know. But he's got a very tough draw. Usyk, as I say, probably the consensus #1 versus Marco Huck, a guy who's had a few losses recently and seems to be on his way down. I think this is one of those fights where the favourite Usyk should actually win the fight. And as I'm talking, I'm just going to see if I can get the odds up on Odds Checker to let you guys know just how much of a favourite Oleksandr Usyk actually is for this fight. But, you know, I would suspect that he's an overwhelming favourite here. For me, this is a fight that should go the way boxing fans expect it to. Usyk is a more accomplished technician than Marco Huck. He's more accurate. He's probably harder to hit. He's more mobile. He has a huge amount of advantages, specifically from a technical boxing standpoint compared to Marco Huck. Marco Huck has always been a kind of rough and ready guy who looked to suck his opponents into a real scrap. And if anything, that's kind of been exacerbated in recent years, potentially as his decline has started. He's a guy who's got a lot of miles on the clock. So I'm looking at the odds now, and with the UK bookmakers, Oleksandr Usyk, I mean, he's as low as 1 to 100 with Sky Bet. You have to put 100 quid on to win a single pound. You can get prices on Marco Huck. I'm seeing 12 to 1 here. 11 to 1, 12 to 1. So the bookmakers are not giving Marco Huck much of a chance. They're giving him about a 6, 7, 8% chance based on those odds. And I don't think that's far off. You know, I think that's probably sums up Huck's experience into this fight. You know, they're big cruiserweights. If he's able to suck Usyk into a war and, you know, bring a real rough and ready type of combat that Usyk maybe hasn't experienced in his pro career to date, then who knows? This is last chance for Marco Huck. But realistically, Usyk, I expect to come out, to be on his bike, to be mobile, to be disciplined, to establish his jab and start boxing. And I suspect that as soon as that happens, Marco Huck will be chasing a ghost. Marco Huck will be throwing bombs that, you know, are missing wildly and expose him to be encountered. And Marco Huck will show that at this stage of his career, his defence is very, very limited indeed. In the Bradis fight, for me, Huck actually became more low output than I'd seen from him before. He actually looked like he kind of, I don't want to use the words given up, but he kind of looked like he'd had the will sucked out of him at stages in that fight. And who knows, maybe this is just one last payday for Marco Huck before he sails off into the sunset. I know he's not the oldest guy in the world, but he's had so many big fights. He's been around for so long, it feels like forever. You know, that he may be a guy who is older in a boxing sense than the years that you'll see when you type him into BoxRec. So I think, you know, if you talk about momentum here, Oleksandr Usyk's momentum is you know, on an upwards trajectory. He became a world champion. This tournament is fantastically timed. It allows him to rattle through that cruiserweight division in fairly short order and then make the move to the heavyweight division, which has been long discussed for him. You know, this is his opportunity. It's perfectly timed. As for Marco Huck, 2-3 years ago, maybe he'd be a favourite in this type of tournament. But a lot can change in boxing, and as you know, he's had a few losses, a few more years, a few more miles on the clock, and now he's starting to look like a very, very beatable opponent indeed. So, yeah, that's my take on this fight. I'm not expecting anything unexpected. I'm not expecting anything out of the ordinary from Marco Huck. I think Usyk's key needs to be to remain disciplined, stick to his fundamentals, stick to his movement, and I suspect if he does that, he can cruise to a comfortable points victory here. As for the stoppage, I understand that the bookmakers are actually favouring Usyk to win this fight over stoppage. I sometimes wonder if Usyk's punching power is overstated. I know he's got a high KO percentage, but you know, I wonder at the top level of the game whether or not he, you know, will sit down in his punches and put them together in a manner with which will blow out opponents like Marco Huck. You know, Huck just went the distance with Bradis. Huck has always been a tough man. He's always been a warrior. And you know, even though he was stopped in that Glowacki fight, you know, maybe he'll be more inclined to be low volume and to stay out of that kind of trouble when he's hurt, having been through that experience and been through that war. But anyway, that's my thoughts, guys. Let's see the Super Series get off to a bang. A slight moan from me would be that from a UK side, I think ITV are showing it on a delay, which is you know, a bit disappointing. For me, I'd see this as a good opportunity to start building some hype behind the Super Series, but there you go. Let's see how it goes this weekend. I'm expecting you know, a comfortable win for Usyk here. Let me know your thoughts. Am I underestimating Marco Huck? Does he still have a lot left? Do you think Usyk is going to walk through this tournament? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed this video, please take time to hit the thumbs up. And please do subscribe. As I mentioned in a previous number, subscriber numbers have stalled somewhat in the past month, but you know, now new season starting, lots of boxing. Let's get some more subscribers on board and let's continue to build the channel. So please do subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll be sure to cover, hopefully do a post-fight reaction to this fight. So if you're interested, check that out as well. Thanks, guys.